Welcome to the Lowcountry Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellott, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I would like to welcome Colin Highland. Colin is the co-founder of Workforce Wave, a Charleston-based enterprise voice AI company. Colin's a physical therapist who turned into a self-taught AI builder. Colin designs voice agents people do not even recognize as AI agents. Welcome, Colin. How are you doing?
Thanks, Bill. Happy to be here.
So tell me about this. So you went from physical therapy into the AI world. That's a big jump. How'd you get there?
Well, I think, I always ask myself why I was even a physical therapist to start with. I actually say that I'm a creative more than I am anything else.
Cool.
I've been a writer for a long time, and so I think I'm more so an artist / creative that became a physical therapist because as a high schooler I had to figure out what to do.
Didn't we all,
in
right?
High school, and I went down that track, and then found out that I had some creativity bones inside of me, like after on, and so it really is the creative nature of me that has allowed me to harness what I'm doing here at Workforce Wave. Yeah,
that's really cool. So, so you're tying it together with like writing. So is there a lot of writing involved in making like an AI agent? How does those two things kind of connect?
Well, that's the beauty now. I think I was just blocked out of that. I've always been a technologist, going back to, as a physical therapist, healthcare moved more and more into technologies for documentation. And I was always that therapist that I was joked that I'm a cyborg. I just can figure it out without instruction manuals. And I was always that go-to, within, wherever I was that knew how to help people get through things. And, but being a technologist, I was always blocked from the fact that that to really be able to work, in technology, you had to know how to code.
Right.
And AI has come aboard, and it's the age of the creative now. Writers and artists that used to be blocked by that interface of code before you can really do cool stuff. The deep entrenched stuff within technology is now pretty much evaporated. I consider ourselves pirates. We're pirates out there, vibe coding and stuff. But for prompting these agents, it is a lot of words. And if you think about in this space, I think that what has brought us forward a little bit as a company is having someone, myself, that is a writer, building the scripts and the prompts of these agents, versus some of these technology companies where they've thrown their IT crew, into building these agents.
Right.
So, not to generalize, but half those guys are probably the guys that don't talk to anyone, on the way back home after work, and so, having a writer, behind these agents, I feel like it gives us a little bit more of a flair of, engaging at different levels than other ones.
Yeah. And I would totally fit into the category of like, once I've had talk to enough people, I don't want to talk to anybody anymore. So I totally identify with all of those guys out there. But it is kind of an art now, like you said. It's like you can now. It's funny, I've been thinking about this because AI is everywhere, and and even in the podcast world, it's like it's becoming more and more valuable to be authentic. And so, you mixing your human voice and your human writing skills with the AI coding is a great kind of mix. And it couldn't, like you said, it couldn't happen before now. Like, I used to do a little coding, but I was never, I did coding from an engineer. Whatever it takes to get it done. It might not be pretty, but it got the job done. Now it's like, the syntax and all that's not like in the way anymore. I just need to say, okay, I need it to do this thing, and then the AI can help me get there. It's really amazing.
Right. It is. And I benefit from the fact that, I've got a lot of folks around me that are developers and
Oh,
coders,
cool.
and so I've been able to harness their, they're able to give me each week, a couple little tricks of the trade, that
Oh,
I'm able
yeah.
to then go and deploy, and so I'm becoming more and more dangerous. I'll never be at that level of them, of course. There's always going to be a need for developers in that realm to really go to the nth mile. But what they're able to do nowadays, if they're giving into the AI
Right.
realm, is pretty amazing. We've got one of my partners is a developer, Pate, and he's doing the work of probably 5 developers
Oh,
from
yeah.
5 years ago right now as we speak. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really, amazing what you can do now, especially like oftentimes like in the past when you messed with any kind of code type situation, you
Hmm.
never knew what the ripple effect was till it broke.
Right.
Now, and it takes a long time to, the bigger the code gets or the more complex the job gets, the more stuff you have to look back through, and AI makes that so much faster. It's like
Hmm.
almost instant now,
Right.
and yeah, I
Right.
can totally see that. So, tell me about these. Tell me about these AI agents that you're
Hmm.
making. What do they actually do?
Well, at the very base level, they function uh, in front of behind a phone, actually, I guess,
Okay.
of businesses of all different industries. We've got agents that function within the hospitality realm.
Oh, cool.
We've got ones in dental practices, home service companies. We've got a lot of spas are a big thing for us too.
Hmm.
We have actually Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We've built an agent that represents the town of Mount
Oh,
Pleasant.
cool.
And other cities and counties across the United States, and so we're doing a lot of fun stuff. We have partners um, that function in those realms. We've got a hospitality partner. We've got a partner that has been in the government, municipality industry for a long time. That we partner, and we sit behind the scenes as a tech stack for a lot of companies
Cool.
that are experts in their realm, and we function, as experts in voice AI, and we do automation and text, email agents too. But the Trojan horse really is the voice agents, and
Right.
they sit with a knowledge base of a certain business. Sometimes it's really big, like a city. Sometimes small, like a paint, a paint professional company.
Right.
And it's able to sit behind the phone and answer questions, and then transfers the phone when it gets to a point where it needs someone to help the customer to that next level. So they provide 24/7 coverage, plus that repetitive brand voice that sometimes is hard to train
Right.
employees to give just that nth degree. You train it once and it's got it, and you can tweak it, but yeah.
Yeah. Is like the one from Mount Pleasant, is it trained to be, is it sort of like a functional one? It's like, hey, get me to the property tax office, or tell me who to talk to about this. Or is it like, can I call it up and say, hey, tell me the history of Mount Pleasant and what's
Uh,
cool about being here?
it can
Where
actually
is it on
do,
the spectrum?
yeah, it can actually do all of that. It can do all of that. Every agent has guardrails,
Okay.
and it all just depends on how deep and how far the city wants the agent to go. If
Oh,
it is
really?
more of a functional piece, then we put some blockers on it. If they really want it to be open and help from even navigate tourism questions, we
Right.
can have it open and be available to that. But it really is interesting, just the potential energy within these agents to be as broad spectrum as you want it to be, or as closed down and regimented as you need it to be. And so it's I know that folks are scared about security and
Right. Right.
all of that, and it's you're able to lock it down as deep as you want it to be. It can be as HIPAA compliant
Right.
as you need it to be, or wide open to the universe, and
Yeah. That's
functions
really
both ways. Yeah.
That's really cool. So, do you have any of them? I know some people like to call, especially around here in the Lowcountry. People like to call, but
Mhm.
I'm of the kind of persuasion where I like to text. And so,
Yeah.
are any of them like, could I text the Mount Pleasant one and they would send a text back, or does it have to be voice, or is that just
We
an option?
we can no, we can apply that, and we're actually really proud. This AI is moving so quickly that it's hard to really know if anyone's done some of the stuff that we've done because
Right.
you don't. It's moving so quick, and it's so hard to see over the fence and see what other people are doing. But we're proud of the fact that we've developed a texting capability that not only a lot of voice AI agencies can text outbound. So you're on the
Wow.
phone with the agent, and it can right there on the phone text a link to a scheduling calendar, or a link to a menu if it's representing a restaurant. We've developed inbound and outbound though, meaning
Yeah.
you can text the agent also, and it'll respond back and forth with context of your conversation that you've already had with it. And so even after the phone call is done, um, the, the individual could go back and text that number they just spoke to the agent with, and
Really?
um, we can develop it so it has that maintains that context, or just continues to function within the knowledge base of that company.
Right.
So pretty amazing stuff. So you can have that back and forth.
That's really amazing. So, I have to ask for everybody out there because, probably not your guys as agents, but I know there are
Uh-huh.
some agents out there at certain banks and other locations where
Uh,
it feels like you're in a torture chamber and you've got
yep,
to wade through this
yeah,
maze.
against the wall, right? Yeah,
Right.
no, we're proud of the fact that we build the good ones. We're here to make phone calls better again, is really what we're trying to do. And
That's awesome.
we don't let anything get past our doors. We'll turn down business if we know it's going to turn into one of those agents that do that, because it's just not what we're about. We're here to ensure that our agents have a function, that they have a role, that they don't hide the fact that they're AI agents that you're
Right.
talking to,
That's key.
and that if you need to talk to a human, um, there's ways of getting around the agents. They can call, or take a message and make sure that someone's calling back. And so no, we build the good ones. We build
Nice.
the ones, they're so good that I think people don't like to sometimes put down the phone, but they can, they're interactable enough that I think that you could almost sit there for a little while and talk to them.
Well, and it's funny you say that, and I talk to a lot of friends and folks around the world in sort of my tech space, and one of the things that comes up in conversations, believe it or not, is that there's an epidemic of loneliness, and
Hmm.
having some place you can reach out and talk to, even if it turns out to be an AI agent, that's kind of cool in a way.
Right. I'm exploring that a little bit. I'm a mad scientist, and even all these official agents that I'm building, I build a lot of experimental voice agents that
Nice.
that fall into that realm a little bit. I call them engagement agents.
Right.
It's really intriguing to think about, just having someone to listen to you and give you some conversation back and forth can do a lot for you. And so there's definitely a lot of interesting things that I even have an agent that is a podcast agent
Nice.
that you can call and talk to, and she'll go through the production skit at the beginning, like you and I just did a little bit ago, and
Yeah.
she'll not your competition. Her angle
That's
is to
okay.
work first wave, but
I
it's
do all this by myself, so
yeah.
I could
Yeah,
use a
so
little
when it
help
turns out
every
I might
once in a
have you
while.
be interviewed by Viva, I might give you her phone number, and that's the neat thing, is you just have that phone number and you're able to interact.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, and you need to make a southern one where when you call them up and you talk to them, and then they start saying, "Hey, do you know that this so and so? Who are you related to?" And hey, you should go talk to this person who's a real person. You guys have
Right.
similar interests, so the
Yeah,
connector
there's a
kind
lot
of
of
AI.
concierge. I'm really intrigued with the concierge
Yeah.
category of functionality, representing, we've got some hotel clients, and just what that does for, keeping track of, agents are wonderful at keeping track of information, and then, being able to provide that information when it's useful to you. And so if you think about the concierge, having all the ins and outs of Charleston, South Carolina, and the
Yeah.
newest, greatest restaurant that's here in town. Sometimes really difficult to as a person to keep track of all that stuff, and so it's
Yeah.
fun to think about that space.
And Charleston and the entire Lowcountry area is just growing. It's booming, as they say. There some
Mhm.
people are calling it Silicon Harbor. There's probably a few other names, but things are
Mhm.
changing at a much higher rate than they have in the past 20
Right.
years. And I
Hmm.
think, having something where you can get more up to date information is always
Right.
an awesome thing right now.
Right. And it really is, our a strong, I don't even know if I call it a philosophy because it's something that I don't know if we came forward with this concept until we started really working with businesses, but we've come to learn that AI isn't here. Maybe it's replacing some jobs, but we've found in all of our deployments that these agents become more like sidekicks or
Right.
counterparts, teammates to the folks that are in the company. There's a lot of companies, home service companies where they either don't have the ability to answer all the calls that come in, or they do a bad job at it because they're
Right.
out in the backyard, supervising their crew, and they don't provide that level of attention that their customers deserve when they call in, and don't have the ability to take the notes too. And so that's the neat thing is what happens after the phone call happens. If you think about these conversations, we love the engagement piece of this, but the data that these even small businesses have after the phone call happens, it's magical. It's things that until now only corporations had access to, and they come in recorded lines, and now you've got all this data that you're able to use to service your clients better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the first couple of weeks of when we turn an agent live for a business, so many times the managers and owners of that company come to us and say, we did not, our staff didn't tell us we got these kind of calls.
Yeah.
Like, we could have protected them from, we didn't realize how many scam calls we were getting, or how
Right.
many calls where they're having to answer the exact same question over and over again.
Yeah.
And so it really wakes you up to what kind of calls you're getting, and it gives you that consistent voice too, which is a neat thing for companies.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, maybe you guys or somebody else in the future, I think, especially there's a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs here in the Charleston area, everybody kind of growing at different rates. And it's like, I could totally see where, you and your company could offer something like a small business package. Okay, for $100 a year, probably way too cheap. But anyway, $100 a year, you get a CFO, a marketing department, and everything, right?
Our mission is to support small businesses. We recognize that, and some of it is because we recognize that the larger companies, the sales cycle, for these large behemoths, it's 2 years before they decide to do some of the things that the nimble, smaller businesses are able to do. And so we've really made a point of setting things up so that to get in with one of these agents is extremely realistic for a small business. The return on investment is really easy to walk through, and it's for as cheap as $200 to start, you could get in, and you pay for the minute, almost like a 1990s cell phone bill, because everything with AI right now is usage based, and so it's cleaner for us to just allow folks to pay for the development. We've got a lot of really great templates that can be automated, so you don't have to pay for that. We can go as custom as someone wants, but we reserve some very strong templates that are probably better than agents that other companies are selling as custom agents. But we've got agents that are templated out that could easily be deployed even just after hours. So we try to really make it easy for folks to and it's a great entrance to AI. I think that a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs are nervous because they're maybe not strongly technologically inclined. They know they need to figure out something with AI, and I think what we're doing is very practical, and it's something that is hands-on and it's tangible, not as invisible as some of the other applications. So it's a nice entry-level way to get into the AI bus or train or whatever this is that we're a part of here, in a safe way. And it's and from there we've got the ability to automate workflows, and there's amazing things that can happen after that. But it's a really safe place to just start, and we do everything modular, so you can always build up on top of things.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's like, I've talked to a lot of small businesses, founders and stuff around the area, and everybody has a similar story about this, and it's very true. When you're small, onesie to maybe 10 people, but usually even less than 5, it's like everybody's having to do everything. There's no specialization, and especially if you're closer to a one person type unit, you're like, hey, this is my area. I'm good at this, but all these other
Right.
things, I'm like amateur hours. Like,
Right. Right.
I do marketing, but that's not my area of expertise. I would love to have like a marketing agent say, okay, you are
Right.
assigned to do all the marketing for the
Mhm.
company. You know, that would be
Right.
really cool.
Right. And that's the fun thing too, is that with this technology too, you have an agent on the phone. You're missing social media posts every
Right.
single day. You don't have access to the phone calls, the true phone calls and interactions that you and your employees have with your true clients. And so there's a lot of trends and patterns that get recognized when you have everything going into to one phone line. So but the marketing potential there is, we've got a couple of clients that go through their transcripts, and they almost every day you can find a quote, perfect, Instagram
Yeah.
inspired in
Boom.
real time
Yeah.
from a call yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that everybody sort of needs, but it's another heavy lift, especially when you're small, is, most small businesses and large businesses too, you need some sort of CRM, client relationship management type software. But,
Right.
one, you got to learn the software. Two, you got to have somebody to spend the time to put it in there. Do your guys' AI agents kind of help automate some of that, or is it built into that? How do you do that part?
The beauty of things is that as time goes on, we've been integrating more and more into CRMs. Whether it's Salesforce or HubSpot's a really
Right.
popular one, and
Yeah.
HubSpot's a really easy one because there's a lot of free versions that still give you a lot of
Right. Yeah.
capabilities, and so having a voice agent that's able to create tickets and update contact information, and just AI in general. The neat thing for us is that we function alongside a software development firm called Code and Trust, and so we
Oh
have
yeah.
a relationship with Code and Trust that allows our clients to get VIP access to
Yeah.
developers. Our CTO and one of my partners, Pate, is the CTO of Code and Trust
Oh,
also,
cool.
and so there's a lot of intermingling. So our clients benefit from having the powerhouse of a true software development
Right.
firm. That we can fast forward and do a good thing with too. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's you have a good secure infrastructure and a strong knowledge base of developers and stuff. Code and Trust works a lot with Chucktown startups. They've sponsored a number of events, so
Yeah.
they're very well known in the community.
Yeah. Yep. And Patrick is our third partner, Patrick Bryan. So.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. So I have to ask, you've been doing this, you're making AI agents, you're talking to different people. So what kind of like advice and stuff do you have for other entrepreneurs out there that are like, I don't even know what to ask about AI agents.
Well,
Where should I even
yeah.
start?
I think finding a simple process, especially something that is a repetitive task that is maybe not even straining you, but you recognize if you didn't have to do that, you could do other things,
Right.
better or with more energy. It's hard because right now I think that trying to pick a product that does something, there's a lot of off-the-shelf things out there that I think the technology is just progressing so quickly that I think
Right.
that you're still in a danger zone of, if you pick a product, 3 months from now, is there a better
Yeah.
Product that
Right.
now
It
you've got
changes.
yourself set up on this? And so I think that finding an AI product, I think voice AI is a really good practical first approach into getting on this bandwagon of integrating with AI, because it's a safe product that's the technology itself is progressing, but you're not having to worry about what you're doing becoming outdated or something new coming around the corner. I think that there's definitely things out there that that you can latch onto and would do great things for your businesses. But
Right.
it's like going into a sushi restaurant with 1,000 different rolls to choose from. You don't know what to pick, and so
Tuna
the easiest thing
roll.
to do is
Always
not
go
pick.
with the tuna roll.
To not pick anything at all, though. You get stunned into making no decision, and then 5 months goes by. And so I think that it's whether it's voice, whether it's something else, picking something small that can have even a a small impact on on what you're doing, whether it's how you engage with your customers, something in the back office that you just need to try to automate. Yeah, I mean, we're around for all of that. We don't,
Cool.
even though voice is our primary product, we do a lot of automation, and like I said, we've got that partner code and trust as well too, that does some of the higher level stuff.
Right. And so if a business is out there and they're interested in this, and they give you guys a call, do you kind of come in? It's like, they're like, hey, I think we need some stuff in this area. Do you guys come in and kind of do, I'll say, sort of like a mini audit and say, okay, here's where we can give you the best bang for the buck kind of stuff?
Yeah, we do an intake.
Okay.
We actually, and some people don't want to have that conversation. Some people feel like they just want something simple. They don't want to be sold on anything. And so we even have self sign-up capabilities off of our website too. So you can build an agent, start it. There's some little things in the background that we do just to get it up and going for you. But sometimes it's best to just touch something for a little while. Then you sort of recognize what you need, and then everything we do is so modular that we can tack on custom features.
Right.
So just getting started with something is the way to go. And we pride ourselves on making it pretty simple and
Cool.
very affordable for companies. So
that's awesome. Well, Colin, this is great. I really appreciate you sharing this with everybody. And, it sounds really amazing, all the stuff you guys are doing. And I'm going to look forward to seeing the new stuff's coming out because,
sure.
I love this idea that, you can do all of these things where you're not replacing people, but you're giving them better customer service at the end of the day, really.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's really the fun part. And I think that it allows even smaller companies to function like a corporation. It just gives you so much presence, and control of your brand voice. That's
Right.
something that unless you had a communications team, you never had access to before. But now you've got the ability to find that way of finding consistent,
Right.
reliable engagement with customers.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what everybody's kind of looking for, especially when you're starting a business, is some consistency and not having to
Right.
worry about, whether people are on brand or not on brand. That gives you peace of mind. So that's awesome. Well, I appreciate this.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's been great. Yeah. But I'll have to invite you on to Viva's podcast at some point.
Absolutely. I'd love to do it. That's a wrap for this episode of the Lowcountry Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Bellot, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of Lowcountry innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.